Welcome, everyone, to the Mile High Champions League weekly podcast. I'm your host, The Commish, and with me, as always, is the friendly and magnanimous Big Nolski. Big guy, how you doing tonight?
The same as I was doing last week. It's almost freaking Friday. I don't know why I said freaking, but it's almost freaking Friday, and that's always good in my book. It's been a long week. How about yourself?
I'm good. I've got myself an extra tall glass of scotch, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So let's rock and roll with a piece of Mile High Champions League history. Congratulations, Josh, to going 9-0 to start the season. That is really remarkable. I mean, that is really unbelievable. The fact that Brandon did this back in 2008, we're coming up on a 10-year record here. It's truly phenomenal that he did that. If you figure, let's just play basic math, and let's say that you have a chance of 50-50 every week, right? So to get to 1-9, just did the math, you have about a 1 in 500 chance, let's call it that, 1 in 500 chance of actually doing this. So if you imagine we have 500 different games or 500 different seasons where this happens, basically it's not, this might not happen again. We might not have a 9-0 start to the season. It's pretty awesome. So congratulations, Josh. That is really, truly amazing. Let's dive into, since we got a lot to talk about this week, we're going to skip the champion of the week, but we're not going to skip the shithead. Before we do that, let's do a quick little look back at who the week 9 MVP are. It's Redneck's Delight. Charlie, congratulations on MVP. Jared Goff was the MVP of the week, and this guy's, he's didn't have a great start to his NFL career, but he seems to be having a great, it seems to be Carson Wentz and Jared Goff's year. If they weren't playing in the same conference, I'd love to see these two go at it in the Super Bowl, but we may see him in the NFL conference or the NFC Conference Championship. We'll see. All right, let's head into Big Nolski Shithead of the Week. I think these are hilarious. Go ahead, Noel.
All right, so it's a co-shithead of the week this week. First up, we've got a continuation of last week's shithead of the week. We've got Jerry Jones defending Papa John because, Jerry Jones, he has nothing to gain from this. Oh, wait, maybe he does. Jerry Jones has interest in 120 Papa John stores. So Jerry Jones said this week that of Papa John, he's really uniquely qualified to do that because his entire, I think he has over 5,000 stores, and those stores basically send out messages to consumers, and then they pick up the phone and either respond to that or not. He literally, when the messages come out, he can really count the responses all over this country. He's quite an expert. Plus, he is one of the real American success stories of what hard work, being honest, treating people right can do. I know he's frustrated. Yes. So Jerry Jones, who, as I said before, has no reason to back up Papa John's. Oh, yeah, he also owns a fair amount of stock in the company and has had a long-standing business relationship with Papa John's. Yeah. So the fact that he had to come out and say this is really shitty. And also, for those of you who haven't been keeping up, I know Kenfield has been. Jerry Jones has been having fun this past few months, I would say. He's now threatening to sue the NFL over being thrown off of a compensation committee that he was never on in the first place because he's pissed off at Roger Goodell, who he thinks lied to him about the Ezekiel Elliott investigation and suspension. So, adding to why the Papa John's thing and just his general shitheadedness, the fact that we are now we're left to sit here and decide, should I be cheering for Jerry Jones or Roger Goodell, is hell on earth. So that's the first one. And his co-shithead of the week is Walking Pharmacy, Jim Irsay, who owns the Colts, who it was reported this week, although Dungy later tried to walk those comments back, that Irsay basically called out Andrew Luck's toughness, saying that it's all in his head. If he wanted to play, he could. And what I think it bears mentioning here is the injuries that Andrew Luck has sustained over the past few years as the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts are injuries that people oftentimes incur in car accidents. He's been playing behind a terrible offensive line. And to say that his shoulder is probably destroyed, the worry now is that he won't play again. So to question his toughness and also be a guy who's addicted to pain medication. And then he also said this back in August. It's been said before, all sports is played in a 4-inch field between your ears. It's really important we continue to help Andrew emotionally, mentally, get his confidence and his endorsement deep down, his rubber stamp and heart of hearts, because in the end, that carries the biggest weight. It's not in his head. He keeps saying every time he throws the ball, his arm starts hurting because you put him behind the world's worst offensive line, and now you may have wrecked a once-in-a-generational quarterback talent in a league that really lacks quarterback talent as it is. So, yes, I'm actually tempted to give a slight edge as not co-heads, like maybe make 1A and 1B to Irsay this week because that's just awful. Plus, if you're not familiar with Irsay and his travails when it comes to saying and tweeting dumb shit and also getting caught with a briefcase full of cash and prescription pain medication, I suggest you look it up. Also, the shirt he was wearing got arrested was sort of comical. So, yeah, good job, guys.
Don't worry. I've posted that mugshot on the homepage. So, yeah, what the it looks like an Old West cowboy polo. Typically those cowboy shirts that you get, those bolo ties that Marmalar likes to wear. It looks like that, but in polo format. So it's kind of casual cowboy, I guess. He looks actually high as fuck in this photo.
He couldn't stand up.
Yeah, he oh my God. His eyes are like half closed. His eyes are bloodshot. He's a piece of shit. He is just a piece of shit. All right, thank you. No, those are I thought that was funny. Let's go on to the playoff picture because we're down to the final 3 games of the season. We're really into the last stretch here, final quarter. Got to make all these games count. Let's look at 5 different categories here for the playoff picture. Those who are in, those who are likely in, those who are still in the hunt, those who are likely out, and those who are mathematically eliminated. Let's start easily with the mathematically eliminated. That's no one. Technically, everyone still has a chance. Yes, that's you, Larson, at 2-7. You'd have to have a lot go right, but technically, you're still in the game. It's very complicated. The actual mathematics is to like 1 in a million, but I don't want to say you're out. Stranger things have happened. In fact, they've already made a second season of that. They're already talking about 2 more. It's a good show if you haven't watched it. Let's go to the flip end of that. In Josh, 9-0. We just talked about that. He's clearly in. In fact, he could lose the remaining 3 games of the season and still be in. The reason for that is he is 5 games ahead of the next 3 players in his conference, in the Atlantic Conference, Nick, Ben, and Molly, who are all 4 and 5. So even if he loses his last 3, he still wins the Atlantic Conference. And he very likely will still win the Mile High Champions League and therefore get the first round bye or potentially second seed and still get a bye week. So Josh is in. Who is likely in? Courtney, 6-3. Kenfield, also 6-3. These 2 are leading the Mountain and the Pacific Conference, respectively. Now, in the Mountain Conference, I'm right behind her at 5-4. Brandon's a little further behind, 3-6. And as I said, Rams 2-7, still not out of it yet. Kenfield, 6-3, has the 4-5 Buffaloes and Rednecks to light behind him, and then Noel at 3-6, chasing up the rear there. So Kenfield and Courtney are likely in at this point. They'd have to have a lot go wrong for them not to make it. As we've kind of talked about many times during this podcast, a 7-5 record will get you into the playoffs, typically. 8-4 is what you want. 9 and whatever Josh is doing is amazing. 9-3 will get you there. 10-2 will, if you get 10-2, you're probably going to win the whole league there, which actually, while we're on the subject of that, we're talking about amazingness throughout the Mile High Champions League. Let's talk about 2 other records. Prior to switching to the 12-game format, we used to play 14 games. The best single-season record for those historians out there was set in 2008 by Matt Larson, who won 12 of his 14 games, went 12-2, and then by our dear friend Big Nolsky in 2009, won 12 of 14 games and went 12-2. So that's the Legacy Award for the best single-season record. Since then, we've switched to 12 games. There's only been one person that's had a 10-2 season. Do you care to guess who that is, Noel?
I want to say it was Trevor.
It's a little bit more on the nose and easier than you think. It was you.
Oh, shit.
In 2013, you won 10 of 12 games. So, you know, I don't expect you to remember every last little thing about the Mile High Champions League, but that's pretty funny. For those of you who are interested in looking back at our storied history, go to the trophy catalog. You'll see all this fun stuff, including the Golden Bench, the Lucky Duck, the dreaded EB Award, who was the conference champions, the John Elway Trophy, which is the team that had the best record for the season. A lot of fun stuff there. But I love that record, Noel, 10-2. That was truly remarkable. And then there was one team who also lost their first 2 games of the season. This is a legacy one, so this is 14 games. Lost their first 2 games of the season, and then went on a phenomenal 12-game winning streak. Do you care to guess who that one is?
I'm going to be consistent and go with Trevor again.
It's you again. In 2009, you lost your first 2 games and then won the rest of the season.
I remember that now.
Yeah, you went on a ridiculous 12-game winning streak. So the longest winning streak, Josh could potentially tie it this year. It will be never surpassed, at least in this format. He may tie it, and we may have to create another trophy for that. But that was remarkable. That was when in 2009, boy, you had a easily phenomenal year. Anyways, I'm getting way off topic here. Let's get back to the playoffs.
I was so goddamn busy that year. I was like, what? I'm winning? Great.
Yeah, you kicked some serious ass that year, so congratulations to you as Mile High champion. Let's so here we go. Josh is in. Kenfield Courtney, likely in. Who else is in or likely still in the hunt? Myself, 5-4. Ben, Charlie, Molly, Nick. Vanessa, all 4-5. Brandon, Noel, 3-6. And then again, Larson, 2-7.
We're doing it.
So that's the you're doing it. That's the playoff picture as it stands right now. Now let's go on to the review of the week. We had some pretty fun and interesting games this week. Let's start off. I will tackle review number 1. Let's look at the first game, which was between the Littleton Spartans and the Parker. There it is. Every time. The colors have seemed to have gotten more vibrant and rich. Good Lord. So let's talk about this game. This was a fantastic game.
This is the Engine Nerd Bowl.
This was, you know what's funny? There were several, because I let the computer create the schedule this year and I didn't tweak it at all, there were several instances where the bowl week games have been played. In fact, this is, I believe, the second time I've played Courtney this year, and I played her again. So, yeah, we're going to have like 3 Chick-fil-A bowls this year. So, at any rate, yeah. So, in a preview of the upcoming Engine Nerd Bowl, the Spartans won their second game of this season. So, congratulations, Brandon. That was you needed it. I mean, you really did need it. This was not a time of year where you could just kind of say, well, I guess I'm out. Screw it. He played his heart out, 142.3 to 121.8. It was a great game. And Larson, having the MVP, Jared Goff, you figure would have won. Problem is there's a lot of underperformers on his team, like Doug Martin putting up a single point. That's surprising. Now, Doug Martin's not been having a fantastic year. He missed the first 4 weeks of the season. First one's not his fault. That was from the Hurricanes. 3 goose eggs in weeks 2, 3, 4. Then he came back in good form, 21, 20, 14, 15 points in weeks 5 through 8.
Suspended for the first 4 games.
Oh, that muscle hamster always getting suspended. Should just go to class and not ditch detention. So he, 1 point. Not a great week for him. Who else didn't have a great week? Really just the Bengals defense, because you can't expect a ton from your kicker. He got him 9 points. It's not bad. But the Bengals D only getting 10 points. That is not great. That is surprising. They've been averaging about 15 this year, so that is a bit low. Golden Tate, not a bad game, 20 points. Benjamin Watson, same thing, 11. Michael Thomas and Devonta Freeman, I think, lost him the game, however. Both of them scored 14 points, not total. Each of them scored 14 points, which is far lower than I think you'd expect from both of them. Freeman's been putting up, on average, 20 per week, and Thomas has actually, ironically, been scoring 14 points a week. So maybe I'm a little bit off on that. So congratulations, Michael Thomas. You hit your statistical average. Boom. So Michael Thomas, you did actually not lose him the game, but you did not really do that much either to help. I'm going to blame it more on Devonta Freeman because he should have been there. You should have been there, big guy. And then Doug Martin, too, having a really bad week. Looking at the Spartans, he had a great week pretty much all around except for Emmanuel Sanders getting a paltry 4 points. Matty Ice, 26.8. That's great. AP had a remarkable week, 35 points there. Jimmy Graham, 10 points. Good start to the Good game for Jimmy Graham. DeAndre Hopkins, the number 1 wide receiver going into week 10, 20 points. Mohamed Sanu, 11. Not bad. Eagles D, really nice game. They beat the living shit out of us, 51-23, the Broncos, that is. But they only got 18.5 points from that. Kind of strange. One of his better players was Greg the Leg Zerline. He is having a fucking phenomenal year, averaging 14 points per week as a kicker, mind you. So this guy is kicking. He's putting up 14 points a week. That, in perspective, is outscoring all other tight ends except Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, and Zach Ertz. Every other tight end is averaging less than this kicker. So congratulations for starting Greg Zerline. He's really, that's just unbelievable. So good job this week, Brandon. Second game in a row that you've won, so you advance at 3-6. Larson, unfortunately, he's about a month of losing here. 4-game losing streak, 2-7. So he said it's not out of the game just yet. Really has to win here in week 10. Has to win the rest of the season to even stay competitive. So I'm sorry for this loss for you, Larson. Let's head into the next game. My game versus Courtney. Go ahead, Noel.
So, yeah, there's this. I believe, from what I remember, this is supposed to be a closer game than it ended up being. But, Mike, and a quick recap from your side here. I mean, Josh McCown didn't let you down. I wasn't trying to rhyme. With almost 21 points. That's not bad from who would ever see you have to start Josh McCown. Well, you would, Mike, because everyone on your team keeps getting hurt. Plus, it should be also mentioned that this was your bye week extravaganza.
Both of us had a shit ton of buys this week.
And
I stashed a defense, so suck it.
And then Chris Thompson did shit for you, essentially 9 points. Jarvis Landry did something. I mean, it's not great, but 15 points, I think, so far this season. You take that from him. Evan Ingram, again, just the rest of the Giants might suck, but Evan Ingram's good. Alshon Jeffrey and Mike, you were smarter than I think the rankings I saw on Bleacher Report from last week, which said that you should sit Alshon Jeffrey, and you should not have because he got you 26 points. 16 points from Orleans Darkwa, who I only know that name because I've got a friend who's a Giants fan, and the first time I saw that, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, who the hell's Orleans Darkwa? But also, why isn't he in the game all the time? I want to see that name all the time. So that's an inspired start from you there, Mike. And then you kind of got screwed. You hate to say it from a kicker, but Will Lutz has been so automatic. You really got screwed because the Bucs offense is so terrible that although I think they put up like 30 points in like the first half, maybe the first like half plus a little bit in the third quarter, they completely went off the gas. And so he got one of two on his field goals from, which isn't bad, from 40 to 49 yards. He missed one extra point, which does that cost you 1 or 2 points now, Mike? I think
1 point.
1 point. Okay, so it's not that bad. And then in a start, which I think anyone would have made, you did the Lions defense over the Saints defense. And as I said, I think anyone would have made that. And because the 17 points is kind of generous because basically both touchdowns the Packers got came in the last 2 minutes of each half, and the last touchdown was completely meaningless. They only got 3 sacks, as where the Saints would have gotten you 29 points because they got a touchdown, fumble recovery, 4 sacks, and a block, which I think they actually returned for a touchdown, and only allowed 10 points against the moribund. Jesus Christ. Sorry. dog's jumping up on me again. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now to Courtney, the victor. So congratulations, Courtney. This was a solid win. As I said, you've I don't know how, but you've got this kind of under the radar team that should not be on the radar because I think you basically do this almost week in and week out to people. Russell Wilson is bouncing back and 36.8 points. I think for the rest of the season, he'll be money in the bank. Christian McCaffrey, who he's starting to get rolling as far as a running back, but still is kind of just money in the bank when it comes to PPR. Amari Cooper is kind of sinking back to not earth, but the obscurity of the start of the year with 9 points. Vernon Davis, that was a money start considering Jordan Reed was out, and that took some risk there. So 13 points, good job there. Derrick Henry, 14 points. I think apart from the time that he got like a couple touchdowns in one of the early games this year, probably his best week. Marshawn Lynch, who I texted Brandon about this, and Brandon was like, motherfucker, because all of a sudden Marshawn Lynch did something this year. So 25 points from him. Good waiver wire pickup. Surprisingly, the best, I think, going into the week was number one kicker in fantasy. Ryan Suckup had a very quiet 5 points. 49ers defense against Arizona, which was a, by the numbers start, 13 points, not bad. And really, she had, some players on buys, and also Alex Smith with a 29 points effort on the bench. So sorry for the loss, Mike, but congratulations for the win, Courtney. And as I said, I think as the season's going along, you're starting to see who the teams are that consistently put up, the reasonable amount of points to win. And I think she's one of those teams.
I agree. She had a really phenomenal week. I thought I was going to win. I thought I was going to pull it off, but Russell Wilson really just kind of shut it down there. So congratulations, Courtney.
Russell K, sir.
Russell K. Oh, I missed that. That's when Independence Day was good. Have you seen Independence Day Resurgence?
No, I refuse to watch it.
I want you to watch it for how bad it is. Like, be folding laundry or be doing your taxes. Don't sit down and watch it. That is an utter waste of your life. But it's so bad. It's so bad. It's almost comical. Like, how did they're like, yeah, let's greenlight that part of the movie. That makes 100% sense. Like, I don't care about physics or plot lines. Let's just do it. That sounds great because we got the CG power. Yeah, it's dumb, but just please, for your own sake, watch it or don't. You probably have and at the end of the movie, or whether you watch it, like, I wish I'd never seen this movie. So, anyways, let's talk about the next game, Josh versus Kenfield. I didn't think that Kenfield would win this week. I really didn't, until the week that the game actually started. Then he was projected to absolutely dominate here because Josh won, but not by a lot, 106.2 to 103.5. I thought, whoa, this might be the end of this remarkable start here, 9-0. But Jason Witten, 1 point, Alex Collins, 9 points, and then Jonathan Stewart, a big fat goose egg, really held him back. Even if Jonathan Stewart had an average game, he would have won because he's been putting up about 9 points. Alex Collins has been putting up 12, and the fact that he put up 9, that doesn't help. Same thing with Jason Witten. He's been putting up 10 on average, put up 1. So if those guys had performed to their level, you can certainly expect him to be in the 120 range and would have dominated. Now, it's the same thing holds true for Josh. I mean, O.J. Howard took away a point from him this week. He got -1 points, and he's been averaging about 6.5. So certainly if he'd performing, Josh would have been that much more competitive. Same thing with A.J. Green. Got a single point for Josh. And has been averaging about 15. So it's not an unfair paradigm to say, well, if Kenfield would have done this, he won. Perhaps not, though, because if Josh's players had performed to their level, it would have been still a very competitive game. Nevertheless, congratulations, Josh. That's a big win, as we talked about. This is a phenomenal record to set. Let's look at how you did it. 34.2 points for Dak Prescott. That was a really big week for him. Above average. He's been doing phenomenal this season. He's been averaging about 30 points, so slightly above average, but nevertheless, anything above 25 I'll take from a quarterback any day of the week. Mark Ingram was a little quiet for Mark Ingram standards. He's been putting up 22, only scored 16 this week. Not bad, certainly not bad, but a little bit quiet for him. Talk about AJ Green and OJ Howard. If you average out their points, scored 0 because AJ got 1, OJ -1. So that nothing happened there. Todd Gurley, great game, 29 points, the second highest scorer on Got AJ Green Lantern this week. This dude is a stud. He is what you would expect and want Todd Gurley to be. Tevin Coleman had a mediocre 9-point game. He's been averaging 14, so it's really not that unexpected to do kind of, low teens perhaps, high single digits. So he kind of nailed that. Panthers D, a little bit low. I was expecting them to perhaps do better because Atlanta, when they choke hard. Now, they didn't choke too hard this week. That was just completely evidenced by the Super Bowl too, but I was just thinking in general, Atlanta, they tend to struggle on the road in particular. So the Panthers got him 11 points. I thought that was a bit low for that game. Matt Bryant put up 7 points, not bad. Eli Manning going to Ken Field's team, 18 points. That's about all you can hope for from that mouth-breathing dummy. Ezekiel Elliott, great game, 24 points. Demaryius Thomas in good form, despite the Broncos look like garbage. He got him 21 points, which is almost double his average. He's been averaging about 12, so that's a good game for Demaryius. Talking about Jason Witten, not great. Alex Collins, Jonathan Stewart, not great. Seahawks D, however, 20.5 points. That is great. And it's not like they were playing a slouch team either. They're going against the Redskins. They just had a great week against them. They kind of, I guess they shut down, but they did a good job of keeping Kirk in check and got a fumble recovery to add to the points there. And then Vinatieri, 10 points. Phenomenal week, I guess, for an 80-year-old kicker. So good game all around. Congratulations, Josh. I wouldn't fret about this Ken Field. It's, and you want to win every single week, but at 6-3, you're still sitting nice and pretty. Let's go on to the next game. It is J.J. Watts against you, Noel. This, you guys have the right spirit of competition. I know both of you are deep competitors and you want to win, but Noel was very gracious in defeat and asked me to congratulate Nick. Nick, in response, was saying it was a great game. It must have been hard to watch for Noel, and here's why. Nick won 139.2 to 137.1. This isn't the first time Noel's been screwed out of a game by a couple points. So you are a trooper, Noel, just for being here and not saying, fuck you, Mike, I'm not going to do the podcast and smash it and then mail me a giant box of shit and hire a kid to light it on my doorstep. So thank you for not doing that. Let's look at the game.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I would say this was the game of the week because it was high scoring, high octane, and it was fun to watch both these teams go at it. Both of your quarterbacks, I'm going to go position by position instead of team by team. Both of your quarterbacks did well. Cam Newton for Noel, 30.6. Matt Stafford, 31.2. Great quarterback play. Running back play was good. Kenyon Drake of Miami has replaced Jay. Yeah, that was a great start because that was a big roll of the dice. Because prior to this week, let me just do a little quick maths here. He put up 21 points total through 8 weeks. Excuse me, he didn't play the first week because of the Hurricanes. But so through 8 weeks, he had 21 points. This week, he scored 22. So good start. Lamar Miller, 17 points. That's good, but not great for Lamar. I'd expect closer to 20 or above that. Des Bryant, Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin is having a really good bounce back after kind of a slowish start and then a little bit middle part of the year. At weeks 4 and 5, he only put up 15 weeks total. 25 points for Doug this week. That's great. 13 for Des. I just don't know what to make of Des Bryant. With his physicality, with his skills, with his quarterback, with the fact that they have a run game. Well, now Ezekiel Elliott's suspended, but with a run game to keep the safeties in and the corners potentially occupied, you figured Des would be like a number 1 through 5 receiver every single year, and he's just not. I don't know what it is. I had him last year. He was very disappointing. This year, he's a 24th ranked wide receiver. That's bizarre. When you think about who is actually outperforming Des Bryant, here are a couple names that might surprise you. Robbie Anderson. Do you know who that is, Noel?
Is he a receiver?
My point exactly. He's a receiver for the Jets. I had no idea. I know that only because I'm looking him up as we speak. Here's another couple names that might surprise you. Ted Ginn Jr. I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Yep, plays for the Saints now.
Good for him. I am even surprised by this. My own Jarvis Landry is outperforming Des Bryant. Jarvis Landry is good and basically the only weapon receiving-wise they have in Miami. But if you were to start over from scratch, have a fantasy draft in the NFL and say, here are all your wide receivers, pick a wide receiver, and I was the GM, I would pick Des Bryant. I would go with Jarvis Landry later on, but between these two, absolutely Des Bryant. So I'm shocked that he's 24th. It's weird to me because I had him, and I thought he should do better, and I thought, well, this is a good year for him. Nick picked him up. I don't want him, so I'm sure he'll do well. No, I don't know what's going on with Des Bryant. It's weird, but I'm focusing too much on him. Let's go to the tight ends. Jack Doyle for Noel, 14 points. That's great. Unfortunately, counterbalancing that, Travis Kelce, 20 points. This dude is a stud. Here's my prediction. He's going to be the number one tight end at the end of the year. Flex 1, Tyreek Hill, 18 points versus Joe Mixon, 16 points. Pretty good, going punch for punch. This is where the game was lost. Chris Ivory in the flex spot got 20 points, which was a bold play because with Leonard Fournette out, you had a choice between Chris Ivory and TJ Yeldon. And the last week when Fournette didn't play, Yeldon outperformed. Now Chris Ivory outperformed this week. He got 20 points to Yeldon's 9. So if he had actually started TJ Yeldon, he would have lost the game. So it was a bold pick, bold play starting Chris Ivory, and it paid off. Especially when you look at who Noel started in the flex 2 spot, Aaron Jones. He had a garbage week, 4 points, which is a huge come down from 2 weeks ago when he had 41 and 4 weeks ago when he had 36 points. So Aaron Jones should have done better, and he just didn't. He's been averaging 13 points, and that's including 3 goose eggs to start the season. So his average is actually of the games that he played, he's been scoring 15, 36, 9, 41, and 4 points. So he's been averaging actually math. I apparently can't use my calculator. So hold on. 21 points a game. So the fact that he got 4, bullshit. So that, to me, is what cost you the game. Ravens D against Tennessee got him a 10 points, which is low because the Ravens D is the number 1 defense this year, putting up 21 points per week. Rams D against the Giants, great call. Giants suck. They got 1 interception and 2 fumble recoveries and only allowed a whopping 17 points. So they got 21.5 points for Big Nolski. And then your kickers did, kickerish territory. Tough. Harrison Butlicker got 5 points for Nick, and then Graham Gano got you 9. So good game by both of you. Tough loss, Noel. I admire your spirit because of this loss. But let's congratulations, Nick, on a 4 and 5. Still in it, Noel. You're still in 3 and 6. Let's go on to the last 2 here. Next game, Molly versus Charlie.
All right. So this game basically went, not gonna say as I predicted, but unfortunately for Molly here, she's got, as you and I both said, Mike, some kind of feast or famine players here. And Charlie he's basically faced an uphill battle all season. So he's done a great job with kind of mending his roster where need be. So originally having Aaron Rodgers, he's now had Tyrod Taylor, who has been no slouch. And this week it proves it. 37.8 points from Tyrod Taylor. And unlike last year, most of those points aren't coming on the ground. He's getting it done passing the ball. So that's good. LaShawn McCoy has been kind of dinged up with injuries, and also the Jets were just not going to let LaShawn McCoy beat them. So 5 points, very disappointing. Jordy Nelson, 7 points. Again, hard to it's tough because if any of you watched the Monday night game like I did, the play calling was just so sporadic and dumb, where it was constant short passes to get the ball with Huntley's hand, and he still got sacked like 3 times. So it was tough to watch. And then from there, this is where, Charlie just struck gold with Jared Cook off of waivers for Oakland. 22 points last week. 22 points. Very good. Frank Gore has been he's had some down weeks, but he's been consistent. 15 points. Matt Forte, who's supposed to be too old to play as well, 32 points, 2 touchdowns. So great stuff there. And then Matt Prater, who, I don't know if you know this or not, Mike, the Lions did not punt the ball once on Monday night.
Wow. That's incredible considering several years ago they didn't win a single game in the NFL. They went 0-16. That is really remarkable.
But they also had a hard time converting in the red zone. So Matt Prater gets them 13 points, which is why, I shouldn't say only, for Nick, in the game we just talked about, Stafford, although he moved the ball very, 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 very well against the Packers defense, had 30.6 points, which he should have had more, really, but also the Lions were nice and kind of let off the gas a bit. So 13 points from a kicker, nothing to shake a stick at. 17 points from the Texans defense, which I actually think is a little low considering they were playing Jacoby Brissett and the Indianapolis Colts, who have been pretty shitty this year. And then for, unfortunately for Molly here, some great performances and then just some nothing. 24.4 points from Drew Brees. Respectable quarterback performance, but not the Drew Brees we've known in the past. 37 points from Alvin Kamara, which is, I mean, what's his face? The Tariq Cohen on the Bears has kind of started to fade off, but Alvin Kamara, even with, what's his face? The other guy, Mark something, Ingram, in, no, that's not his name, is in the backfield in New Orleans, is doing a great job as well. But 37 points, fantastic. Will Fuller, he's just going to be that guy that he makes his points off of just deep passes and touchdowns. So 5 points, it's going to happen from time to time. Cameron Brate, and this is another thing where it's hard to, this was a good start. It was just that Jameis Winston's shoulder isn't right. So when they put in, noted Harvard man, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I shouldn't say noted. I don't think many people actually know he went to Harvard because they never talk about that ever. And then Julio
Only
Jones,
all of the time.
Only all of the time, that's true. Julio Jones, 19 points, which is nothing, again, it's not bad, but Julio Jones has just been dinged up so far this year. Steve Sarkisian has not kept that offense humming the way it was under Kyle Shanahan last year. And he hasn't practiced. He's missed 2 practices this week, and he might not play on Sunday, so that's just unfortunate. LeGarrette Blount got his touches, but didn't get any touchdowns, which he's kind of relying on those. Chandler Catanzaro, 11 points. He's a kicker, which is pretty good. And then the Bills defense, which, Molly, this was a good start. The Jets should be but. However, they allowed 34 points and only netted her 2.5 points. And I feel like this year defenses have been kind of an outsized influencer in wins. So like a lot of, like myself, I lost, but my defense got me a lot of points. And I think we're seeing a lot of teams that are getting 15 plus points on their defenses, which we haven't seen in the past. So that's kind of rare. So, I think that both these teams are 4-5, and Molly has the firepower to put up some big points, but it's going to come, unfortunately, with weeks like this where they just underperform because there's a lot of big play threats here. And Charlie, great job, man. Like I'm not laughing at you. I'm honestly saying great job because you could have been kind of after your somewhat problems with the draft and then injuries, could have just kind of been left for dead. But now that's me in the back of our conference here. So good job, buddy. But good win. And Molly, I think you're still in the hunt, and I think you can still get there. On to the next game.
On to the next one, which is Ben versus Vanessa. Have at it, Noel.
All right. So this was there were some ugly games this week as far as low scores. This one wasn't quite there because Ben did score a relatively decent 116.7 points. But unfortunately for Vanessa, that under 100 points is, Mike, you can recap this maybe at some point. I think it's very rare that you're going to win with under 100 points in our league. And Ben even did so with, 11.2 points from Kirk Cousins. Kurt.
Clerked. His name is Clerk.
Clerk. That's a weird accent.
Sorry, that's my that's my Yukon territory accent.
All right. So, but from there, at 25 points, Carlos Hyde, which he's had a good year under Kyle Shanahan, which, again, he only got 41 yards rushing on 12 attempts, but he caught 9 passes for 84 yards. And in our league, PPR is awesome as far as running backs go. Mike Evans, just apart from the whole Bucks fiasco, plus, I don't know if you guys saw, he came out of nowhere, shoved a guy in the back and knocked him over. Now he's suspended, so 2 points for him. Safarian Jenkins seems to be, I don't know if that one game was an outlier or what, but 4 points. Good game from Amir Abdullah, 14 points. Still not great, but he only lost 1 fumble, so that's good. Hey. Marvin Jones, fantastic game. I think Ben must have been hoping that the Green Bay offense could do something, because basically every time Marvin Jones ran the same route, he did tremendous things with it. 7 catches, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, Justin Tucker, solid 9. Again, defense, 20.5 points from the Cardinals. That's good shit. On to Vanessa here. Derek Carr, he's been solid this year when he's been playing. Just he's been hurt, but he hasn't been he was last year. 22.2 points. Kareem Hunt had another down game. I think teams are now really just selling out to stop him. So we'll see if that keeps going. Crabtree, I'm surprised, 7 points, because usually if Crabtree has a good game, that means that Amari Cooper doesn't have a good game, but they both had sort of crappy games. Croft, he's the backup tight end with Tyler Eifert out with 9 points. Not bad from a tight end. Jay Ajayi, who this was a ballsy quality start here from Vanessa, because this was Jay Ajayi's first game with the Eagles since being traded from Miami to the Eagles. So who would have thought? But, he had some crazy long touchdown run and had 77 yards rushing the day, 23 points. Deshaun Jackson, again, it's that issue with just everyone kind of sucking as far as the Bucks go. Hauschka, down game, 3 points. And the Broncos defense, I like the start from a morale standpoint and from a Broncos fan standpoint, but that was a rough game. So 10 points, which I'm surprised they even got that. So a rough game for Vanessa here. I'm looking at she gets Kyle Rudolph back, and she's just another team that unfortunately has experienced a lot of injuries and a lot of inconsistency. But I'm just stick by this. Even though Ben didn't score a lot of points, I still like Ben's team. I think if things can go right for Ben, because for God's sakes, get 40 points from one player on his bench. That's things might go right here. Plus, Le'Veon Bell was on a bye, so that's a huge thing. So that's this week. Now on to the preview.
Preview. Let's look at the buys first. We have 4 teams. Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, the Oakland, soon-to-be Vegas Raiders, and the Philadelphia Eagles. There are players on every one of those teams that have fantasy implications. So this is actually an interesting week for bye weeks. Let's kick it off, Noel. We're doing this Thursday night, if you haven't already figured that out, by having it not been released yet. We're recording Thursday night right now. We're heading into the 4th quarter of the Seattle-Arizona game. Games are rocking. Noel, start it off. My game versus Brandon. What do you see?
So right now, with the games going on, you have no active players and are projected with 132.1 points to win out over Brandon's team, who's trying to make a massive comeback here with his projected 124 points. And so far, good game on Brandon's side. Good game from Jimmy Graham with 12 points. Adrian Peterson. Oh my gosh. So far this game, this is how bad things are going for the Cardinals without Carson Palmer, even though he wasn't great, which Mike can attest to. He's run the ball 20 times for 36 yards.
Oof.
And they are just starting the fourth quarter and 7 points. So my guess is they're losing by 5 points. They're not going to give up on the run, but I'm guessing that 7 points was not the original projection. And 12 points Jimmy Graham is probably a little low from the projection, but that's good. But on to your team here, Mike, and I guess the actual matchup. Josh McCown against somehow they're not the worst ranked defense against the pass. That's still the Patriots, believe it or not. But I have a hard time believing that Josh McCown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is not going to have a at least satisfactory week for you, Mike. Jordan Howard against Green Bay's defense, who they're just on the field too much. It's just kind of a thing. I like that. Jarvis Landry against Carolina's defense could be tough, could be good. Who the fuck knows? He's an explosive player. Evan Ingram against San Francisco, who's not good against tight ends like that. Melvin Gordon back, fantastic. Even against that tough Jacksonville front. The offense in I almost said San Diego. In Los Angeles goes through Melvin Gordon. Chris Thompson, I like to bounce back against Minnesota, who they're a good defense, but as we said before, Chris Thompson makes his points off of PPR for you. Will Lutz against Buffalo. In Buffalo, which can be difficult as far as the weather goes, but you stick with the hot hand, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
And the Lions defense against the Cleveland Browns.
That was just luck. I just had the Lions defense. I didn't look at their schedule. Hooray!
Then, yeah, from there, Brandon's starting the ghost of Matt Ryan against Dallas's surprisingly decent defense. He could have a great game, but so far this season, as I said, Sarkisian has not really meshed with Matt Ryan as well as Kyle Shanahan did last season when Matt Ryan went nuts. DeAndre Hopkins seemed to be resurgent until Deshaun Watson unfortunately got hurt, and now Tom Savage, although they're also giving some first-team reps to TJ Yates in Houston, so maybe there's a change-up to an even worse quarterback coming. I don't know. That could be tough for Brandon this week. Jerick McKinnon against the Skins defense. I like that start. Mohamed Sanu might be. I think Brandon might make some changes based on his bye week from last week, but I'm not a huge fan of that start. Greg the Leg against Houston, big time like that. LA Chargers defense. Sorry, the Jaguars defense going up against the Chargers offense could be kind of decent. I think they'll get some sacks, but this is one of those ones where, Mike, if your stud Melvin Gordon goes off, that could mean bad news for Brandon. So in this game, I don't want to jinx anything. Plus, I'm not also going out on a limb because of the projection. But Mike, I like you coming out this week and moving to 6-4, and Brandon hanging back with me kind of towards the back end of the league. So Brandon's on a 2-game winning streak, but I think you're going to break that this week.
I'll break your face. Jimmy Graham just scored a touchdown. He's got 19 points now.
Well, shit.
Well, shit on my balls. All right, yeah. Well, I'm still projected to win, but who the fuck knows? All right, let's go to the Parker Rams versus Legend of Lincoln. Courtney's off to a blinding start, 27 points to his 0. He has no players in, so that's not overly shocking, but Russell Wilson's having a good start to the week at 27 points. 2-yard pass to Jimmy Graham just scored that touchdown. They go up 22-10. Looking at the other positions, excuse me, other positions here, he's got Jared Goff going against a very bad Houston defense, especially with J.J. Swat out. Jared Goff is the 12th best quarterback, averaging about 23 points. I think he's going to do just fine this week. He'll, I'm guessing, compete with Russell Wilson. If Russell does 27 points, that's, I think, perfectly within the realm of possibility for Mr. Jared Goff. Devonta Freeman versus Christian McCaffrey in the running back slot. I think both of them are good. Christian McCaffrey faces a tougher defense, but I think that I'm gonna look at these two, and I'm gonna say Devonta Freeman's gonna outscore Christian McCaffrey here. I just like him more, and he's going against a worse Dallas defense than, believe it or not, Miami's run defense against the running back position. Golden Taint against Stephon Diggs, assuming Stephon Diggs plays. He is questionable, and he has okay, I've never seen this before. Stephon Diggs is questionable with a tooth injury and was a limited participant in Thursday's practice. So hopefully his tooth heals up. Maybe he tore a tooth ligament or
I just had dental surgery, which would be pretty painful to try to play through.
Yeah, I just like the idea of him like pulling a tooth, not like pulling it out of his face, like straining it, like you pull a hammy or something like that. Like, oh, my molar,
I sprained my tooth ligament. Like,
my incisor hurts really bad, coach. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. I do a lot of drugs with Jim Irsay. So I think Golden Taint's got this one on lock. Not to mention he's in the top 10 wide receivers, excuse me. Stephon Diggs is not. So I think Golden Taint's got her licked there. Hunter Henry versus Rob Gronkowski. Got to give it to Gronk. Hunter Henry is not bad. He's kind of middle of the pack for tight ends. Gronk is not, and he's going against a really, hate to say it, shitty Denver defense against the tight end. They're third worst overall against the tight end position. So unfortunately, I think Gronk is going to be just fine. What might detract from that is the fact that the Patriots and especially Tom Brady struggle in Denver. I couldn't tell you if it's the water or the altitude or the sunshine or the way the stars are aligned, but for some reason the Patriots seem to suck here. So Denver might win. They might win, and Gronk might have not a very strong game. Michael Thomas versus Leonard Fournette. Fournette is back. This dude is a stud. He's been putting up 26 points a week, going against the second worst Chargers run defense against Michael Thomas, going against a mediocre Buffalo defense. Got to give it to Leonard Fournette. I think he's going to have a big week. Douglas Martin, the muscle hamster, going against a pretty good Jets defense versus Courtney starting Derrick Henry, going to, again, kind of middle of the road Cincinnati run defense. This is a toss-up, but if I had to pick one, I'd choose Derrick Henry over Doug Martin. I think just Doug Martin's the shine's gone. I just don't think – I don't know. He's good. He can definitely have explosive games, but he's just not that kind of – there was a year where he was just clearly number one, like running over everyone. He was unstoppable. He looked like AP in 2006. I mean, he was just remarkable. That's not him anymore. Bears D going against Green Bay versus the Vikings going against Washington. Believe it or not, even with Hundley at the helm, they're a better offense than is Kurt, what did I say before? Kretlick Cousins? Clark Cousins. He's pretty good, but so Washington's offense is a little bit worse than Green Bay's offense is doing. So the Bears kind of have her there. Chris Boswell and Ryan Suckup. Flip a coin. Bing! Suckup. It's going to Suckup. So, this is going to be – I think this is going to be a close game. Courtney's projected to just completely blow them out of the water at 148.9 to 127. I think she'll win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think she'll probably put up 130, 140. Larson will probably put up 125 to 135. That'll be my thing. My guess for this week. So I think Courtney will win this one, but it'll be closer than the projections are alluding at this point. Let's go on to the next one. Noel, you versus the big mighty Josh. What's going to happen in this one, big guy? You going to win? I don't know. He's projected to win. He Josh, 140 to Noel's, let's call it 130. What do you think?
Oh, I think he goes to 10 this week. I'm pretty sure of it.
You know what? I think I agree. But that's my gut call. Let's look at the numbers, the players, and the stats. So you're starting Cam Newton against his Dak Prescott. I think Cam is good. He's definitely a lot better than he started this season. But he's playing against a not too bad Miami defense against the pass. So I think that Dak Prescott going against the middle of the road Atlanta defense, I just like Dak more. Cam Newton especially is questionable. He has a more common football injury with a shoulder he didn't pull an incisor, so he's got a more common. I keep saying injury. It was limited
in the industry. Is that what you're going for?
Yes, he is very common because no matter where you look, be it a Oikos commercial where he punches a minor, or where he, selling all this other shit. He's very common among the industry. So, by the way, it's totally misleading to think that if you eat a cup of yogurt, you're going to get a cheerleader to jump in your lap. I've tried it. Doesn't work. And that Greek yogurt's actually not that good. Not that it's just not. It tastes like shit. All right, let's go on to the next one. Lamar Miller, Mark Ingram. I like both these players a lot, but Mark Ingram's been having a more explosive year. So I think Mark Ingram's got it on Lamar Miller. What could reverse that? And my pick of my pick of Ingram over Lamar is 51-49, just because Lamar is running against a bad Rams run defense. So I think Lamar Miller, especially if they're able to put up a lot of points, not Goff, that would be the opposite of what you need. If Houston's able to run up the score a little bit, they'll just keep running Lamar against a bad defense, and that could completely switch the dynamics. However, I see it more likely that New Orleans puts up a bunch of points on Buffalo, and they start using Mark Ingram as their workhorse, so he'll outscore them. So I'm going to still pick Prescott and Mark Ingram. Going to the wide receiver position, I normally would I like Doug Martin right now, or Doug Martin. I like Doug Baldwin right now, the other Baldwin brother besides Alec and Steven and the others. I like him. I would pick him. However, he's only got 14 points this week, and there's only 11 minutes left in the game here, and they're winning 22-10. I just don't see Seattle giving it much more to the old Dougie there. So he hit about his average for this week. He's been averaging 15 points. He's at 14, so it's not too far off. But AJ, I think, will have a better week against Tennessee's defense, who's not that great. Jackie Doyle.
Body slam anybody this week.
Assuming that. Jackie Doyle versus Erica Ebron.
Hey.
Eric Ebron's going against Cleveland's defense. And with that statement alone, I think you know who I pick. Joe Mixon against Todd Gurley the second. I obviously got to go with Todd Gurley. I do like Joe Mixon a lot. I think he's good. He's above average runner, but it's fucking Todd Gurley. He's the number 2 running back, averaging 33 points a week. I'm going with Todd Gurley. We got Aaron Jones versus Brandon Cooks. We talked about Aaron Jones. Should have been getting about 21 points last week. Did not. Got 4. So I think he'll have a bounce back this week, especially against a bad Chicago run defense versus Josh is starting Brandon Cooks against Denver's surprisingly good wide receiver defense. So our secondary is good. Our the middle of the field where the tight ends play and the running backs and the quarterbacks, not so much. So apparently our secondary is good and our interior kind of blows. So I think that Brandon Cooks will not have as good of a game as Aaron Jones. Rams D versus Panthers. Rams are going against a bad Houston offense, especially with Deshaun Watson out. But the Panthers are going against a worse Miami offense. So I'm going to have to give that to the Panthers. And then Graham Gano versus Kai needs a bath. I think that this is Josh's week. I don't mean to trash your team, Noel. I don't think there's anything wrong with your team. I could plainly be wrong because the projection is only up by about 12 points, 11, 12 points here. But when you look at what's been going on with Josh, I just see him taking week 10. I think there's enough upside for him here. He doesn't need a lot of luck to win this week. Versus, I think you need a little bit more luck with Joe Mixon and Lamar Miller versus Mark Ingram, and I think is a staple, as is Todd Gurley. So I do think this is Josh's week to lose. Let's go on to the next game, Charlie versus Nick.
All right. So before I do a matchup breakdown here, it should be noted that this is Nick's bye-week extravaganza with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Carson Wentz, all out. Also, the Ravens defense, who, surprisingly enough, has been very good fantasy-wise this year. And it should also be noted that Nick has a very, very, very smart stash going on right now. He put Danny Woodhead, who should be fantasy gold when he comes back from his injury, gets off the IR. He's been stashed on Nick's injury reserves. That's good. But now to the matchups. So we've got Tyrod Taylor for Charlie going against Matthew Stafford. And usually in the past you'd go, New Orleans defense sucks, and Tyrod Taylor's been very good. Well, New Orleans defense is better than they have been. They've been pretty good this season. And Mike, as you said before, Matthew Stafford is going up against Cleveland. So you almost always go with whoever is playing Cleveland. So Matthew Stafford there, I like. LaShawn McCoy kind of had some up and down. He's not listed as injured or questionable, but I know he's had some tough times, but I think he'll get some touches versus Kenyon Drake, who last week, good week, 22 points. Who knows if that keeps up? You can kind of tell they're looking around they've been doing a running back up by committee, but they almost all got it done last week. So I think he catches the ball in the backfield, he's explosive. There's some stuff to like there. As we said, fortune favors the bold. So that's kind of it. I think I'm going to go with LaShawn McCoy, but I like the Kenyon Drake start again. Jordy Nelson against Chicago. Chicago's defense isn't very good, but I mean, Jordy Nelson with Brett Hundley. I'm sorry. Even with Juju Smith-Schuster, which is a very fun name to say, against Indianapolis defense, who has now cut their number one corner. I mean, you should go with Jordy Nelson because it's Jordy Nelson, but I'm going to just do this one a toss-up because Nelson hasn't been the same without Rodgers. And then from there, I don't like Jared Cook because he's on a bye week this week. That's the only reason, Charlie. Austin Hooper, I like what Nick's doing with his roster because he's basically going, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice and see what I can get because Austin Hooper has either been huge points or nothing. And so this is again, very bold move here. But rankings-wise, Austin Hooper has been pretty good. Des Bryant, as you said, Mike, has been banged up all year and isn't just not the same quite player he was. So I like Frank Gore for Charlie against Pittsburgh because he's just going to get touches. James White, who's been okay. He's kind of a PPR back that you still disappears, but he's been better in recent weeks. Going up against, actually, ironically enough, Mike, Robbie Anderson of Jets fame, who Nick is currently starting. I like James White, but that's only because I was barely even sure that Robbie Anderson played for the Jets. From there, Matt Prater is a solid start. He's just been doing great things as a kicker for the Lions. Plus, again, playing against Cleveland. And from here, I don't like the Texans' defense against the Rams' offense. And his other option, I'm surprised he did this, might be better, believe it or not, is actually the Packers' defense up against the Chicago Bears' offense. So that's not a good situation to have, not a good choice. And from there, again, another bold choice here. Looks like Nick is rolling with the Patriots defense to take advantage of the just hapless offense that our beloved Broncos are currently putting out in the field. So the defense, again, could be a toss-up because I don't really like any of these options, but in Nick's case, I do like the Patriots a bit more because Belichick is an insanely good coach, and the Broncos offense is just – they're sputtering right now, which happens when you've got poor offensive line play plus a mediocre quarterback. So I don't know. I know that this is perfect because Jared Cook isn't doing anything right now. But even with that, currently, Charlie is projected to win. But I think this one, I think Charlie should win this one just because I don't know what Robbie Anderson is going to do. But I think this might be a low-scoring kind of slug-it-out kind of match this week. So good luck to both of you. And from there, it is on to the Badonkadonk Bowl between Vanessa and Molly. And so far, Thomas Rawls has an astonishing – sorry, did I say astonishing? He has 8 points for Vanessa with that's not good. And currently, Molly has no one playing tonight. So there's that. Let's go to position – actually, let's go to – I always want to do the buys first if I can. Let's see here. Yay! So this one is Vanessa's bye-week extravaganza with Jay Ajayi, Crabtree, Kareem Hunt, and Derek Carr all on buys, and Jameis Winston on the IR. And Molly has a starter on a bye week in Garrett Blunt, so I would imagine she'll get that fixed. So from there, oh my gosh. Andy Dalton versus Drew Brees, which typically you would go Drew Brees all the time, but Drew Brees they're not asking to do as much currently. So I think Drew Brees gets the nod here just because he will be not as Andy Dalton as Andy Dalton. Thomas Rawls, I think, will, even with his 8 points right now, isn't going to match Alvin Kamara for Molly. Then Devontae Parker, who I actually have to look at this because what the hell has he done? Let's see here. So Devontae Parker, 12, 21, 12, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 12. Yeah. Devontae Parker's big. He's not fast. He's a possession receiver. So the upside is it's not great, especially because what Adam Gase asks this offense to do what Jax Cutler do is just check down constantly. So I actually like Will Fuller to perhaps, because he's hit or miss, just fill it up this week with a couple big plays. Kyle Rudolph, as I said before, he's just been an underrated but very solid tight end. He's back from bye week. I like him over Cameron Brate because Fitzpatrick, although went to Harvard, is not a good quarterback. Charles Clay, this is, again, just not even just the bye weeks, but Vanessa has been one of the teams this year that's also had to deal with a lot of injuries. So she's forced to start 2 tight ends, and Charles Clay is back from injury. So maybe, I think at most, let's say 12 points, but that's probably aiming high. Deshaun Jackson, eek, probably not good there. Then against Julio Jones, who's, as I said, missed 2 practices, so that's, I'm not sure there. Garrett Blunt, what? Isn't playing. Stephen Hauschka, who knows? Broncos defense against New England, probably not a great matchup, but props to Vanessa for starting our beloved Broncos defense. Going up against the Bills defense playing at home against New Orleans. So I don't think it'll be any sort of like shootout. So I think that they definitely get the nod there, but I don't know. I mean, this one's not even projected to get over 100 points for either team. So maybe I should take back my prediction from last one and say this might be the low-scoring grudge match of the week. So, yes, this is is there a way to say that the Badonka Donk Bowl might be ugly this year?
Yes. The answer is yes.
I think that's going to be the case. But I like I actually don't know who the hell I like this week. No idea.
I like you.
I like you.
Let's flip a coin. Bing! And Molly, you're going to win this week. All right. Last game, Kenfield versus Ben. This is a must-win week for Ben. This is a should week for Kenfield here. Looking at both of them, they're going to be a good game. Ben is projected to win right now, 139.5 to 124.9. Kenfield's already coming out of the gate running, though. Seahawks had 21 points. Now they have 22. The Seahawks defense, that is, going against Arizona's offense there. So
Drew Stanton.
Drewy Stanton. I remember we had to look that up. Like, who the fuck is Carson Wentz? Other Carson Wentz. Old Carson with the mustache.
They both have red hair. It's fine.
Other Desert Carson Wentz is now his backup is Drew Stanton, who's playing and is not good. So let's look at the quarterbacks. We have Clerked Cousins for Ben. Clark Kent for Ben, who's going against a really good Minnesota defense against the quarterback, and Tom Brady going against Denver's not that great. They're kind of mediocre. Now, as we talked about, Tom Brady kind of blows when he comes here to Denver. So I'm actually going to give that alone to Clark Cousins to actually outscore him this week. So I think they're both going to do just fine. They're going to score 20-plus points. It'll be good. But I think Clark will outscore him. Jonathan Stewart versus Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Kenfield has Jonathan Stewart in the lead running back position, and I don't know why. Maybe
He told me
because
he was done with him after last week.
Maybe he likes his.
Isn't Alfred Morris? Did someone pick up Alfred Morris with Zeke being out until at least December now? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's Kenfield, so I have no idea. I was looking at his bench to see if maybe he's got somebody there. He does have a running back available. His two, or at least not available, but they're there. He's got Ezekiel Elliott who's suspended and Alex Collins on bye week, so he has running backs. He's just not starting them.
Huzzah.
Yeah, so I guess he might do better to start Ezekiel Elliott who's suspended versus Jonathan Stewart, but we'll see. Yeah, Jonathan Stewart is the 44th best wide receiver in the running back in the NFL. You really want to start somebody that's in the top 12 in your number one running back position, top 36 if you're going to start them in the flex. So top 44 doesn't make any sense to start. So clearly, and this doesn't even bear mention the fact that the guy who he's running against this week is Le'Veon Bell. So obviously, with 100% conviction, I'm picking Le'Veon Bell there. Demaryius Thomas versus Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. is kind of one of those sleeper players this year. He's the 13th best wide receiver. He's kind of come out of nowhere, done very well in Detroit. Demaryius, I'm assuming we're going to have to throw a shit ton this week. So even though Marvin Jones has outperformed Demaryius so far this year, I'm actually going to pick DT. Jason Witten versus Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I like both of these guys, but I like Witten more. I think Witten will have a better week. Antonio Brown versus Carlos Hyde. This is kind of funny because if Pittsburgh puts up a ton of points, Le'Veon Bell should outperform. And if a ton of those points come from Antonio Brown, they cancel out each other. So this will be a fun game to watch. Antonio Brown, Seahawks just lost 2 points. They only have 20 points now. Antonio Brown going against Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is not – he's good. I mean, he is good. He's been having certainly above average year, above expectation years because the 49ers just blow, so they really just have to lean on him. 8th best running back, 21 points averaging per week. I still got to give it to Antonio Brown just because it's Antonio Brown, and he can do the Charleston, and I can't. So that's pretty awesome. Sterling Shepard versus Amir Abdullah. Sterling Shepard so when I said you shouldn't start a running back because they're the 44th in their position, you should particularly not start a wide receiver who's 52nd at their position, Mr. Kenfield. Why are you starting Sterling Shepard? He's been averaging 8.9 points. That is 1 point more per week than your kicker, Adam Vinatieri. In fact, it's just a shade higher. 8.9 points is 0.3 points higher than Ben's kicker, Robbie Gould, has been scoring at 8.6. Don't start him. Do not. Why? Why are you starting Sterling Shepard? Yes, I get it because there's nobody else in New York to throw to, and certainly that could help them out. But I am a little bit more of a consistency based off of facts guy, not off of prognostications guy. So I don't think Sterling Shepard will have a great week. And even though Amir Abdullah has been kind of a middle of the pack running back, I have to give it to Amir Abdullah. There's just Sterling Shepard can have a monster week, but I don't see that as likely. It's possible, but not probable. So I've got to go with Amir. Seahawks got another point, so they're 21 points to the Steelers. The Steelers are going against Indianapolis, so yikes. These are two good defenses. I have to think that actually the Seahawks at 21 points are going to outperform the Steelers. Adam Vinatieri versus Robbie Gould. I like Vinatieri more, so I'm going to go with him, and that's the only reason why. Looking at these teams, I think Ben's going to win. Ben has more consistency and the ability to score. I think Kenfield has a more chance for explosive upside, but the probability of that happening is much lower. So I think this is Ben's game to win. I think that'll push him to 5-5. Kenfield will fall to 6-4. Both of them will still be well in the hunt for the playoffs. So it's really, Kenfield's not in a need to win position. He's in a want to win position. Ben is in the opposite, needs to win, lest he start looking at the 2018 season. So that wraps up our preview for the week. Let's look at the poll and then head on out. Poll this week involves the amazing job Josh has done. The question is, big wheel, keep on turning. Can Josh extend his winning streak to 10 games? Yes or no? No fun, maybe, or perhaps if the moon is purple, it's just yes or no. So answer yes or no if you believe so. And that's it. That's the poll. Noel, do you got anything else you want to add for this week? Any other pearls of wisdom for our fantasy folks out there?
Not so much because it doesn't really affect anything at this point, but for those of you who are not watching the game or don't usually keep with highlights, it looks like for those of you who maybe own the Seattle Seahawks defense, it looks like Richard Sherman may have fucked up his Achilles tendon. So if that's the case, that's not just awful for him, it's awful. Well, it's mostly awful for him, but keep an eye out for that. It's very unfortunate.
That sucked.
And yeah, it looks like Brock Osweiler's going to get another start at quarterback for the Broncos. So there's that.
You know, you don't want the Broncos to tank their season, but I'm just looking forward to the 2018 draft. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's basically it.
That's kind of where we stand.
There's nothing wrong with that. It happens.
Yeah, well, it's how we got Von Miller.
Yep.
I mean, we had a really shitty season. We got Von Miller. So there you go. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for fantasy Fantasyland for sticking with Noel and I tonight. We always have fun doing this. We always love doing it for you guys. Sharing our pearls of wisdom or complete pieces of shit wisdom that with you. No matter what, we're always happy to do. We're always happy to talk fantasy. I hope you got something out of it or at least had fun listening to us. So thank you so much. And Noel, send us out.
Go Broncos.
Just not Brock. Good night.